Welcome to the Spirited Agent Podcast. We're pouring wisdom and sipping success one episode at a time. The Spirited Agent was created to empower agents to navigate the ever-evolving world of insurance and grow their business. Grab your glass and let's get inspired to protect your clients from the unknown. Here's your hosts, Millennium Brokerage Group Legacy Planning Executives, Jason Combs and Matt Zelenin.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Spirited Agent Podcast. Today we have a special guest with us, Mike Hegwood with AMA Insurance. Mike, welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you here.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
We're excited. So today we're going to be getting into talking about kind of some backstory with Millennium Brokerage Group and AMA Insurance, a little bit of the landscape on where the physician marketplace is, and some other topics related to that.
And we're going to get into the E.H. Taylor single barrel, which is a product of Buffalo Trace. And I think it's one of Matt and I's favorites. So, boys, cheers.
Cheers, guys.
So, Mike, how long have you been with the agency?
I've been with AMA Insurance now going on 20 years.
And what are your main responsibilities with the agency?
My role is what we refer to as brokerage marketing. So I handle and work with teams of insurance specialists, both internally and externally. So anything we offer to our physicians that goes through a licensed agent is part of my role and part of my team.
A lot of people may not know, but Millennium Brokerage Group, Jason and I, we go way back with AMA Insurance. Can you talk a little bit on how that got started and how that came to be? Because it's kind of an interesting story.
Yeah, it is an interesting story. So back in 2010, we were looking to bring a new product to market, and it was a product that we were not licensed to sell. And so we had talked to a lot of different groups and a lot of different brokerage houses on how we could make that happen. And we did not like what we heard. There was a lot of discussion around ways to maybe skirt the rules and the licensing requirements. The AMA was obviously not comfortable with that. So we were introduced to Bill Zelnick, who's the CEO and founder of Millennium, and he was the first guy who told us no. He said, no, you cannot do that. And so we appreciated the candor and the honesty, and we began a relationship with Millennium at that time.
We're used to hearing no from Bill Zelnick as well pretty often, right?
That's an interesting thing, because I think our business is so geared on, make it happen for people, say yes, figure out a way to do it, all this type of stuff. But a lot of times a no is the best answer. This business is a very regulated business, as we all know here at the table. And, just because something, some company or somebody's out there pushing the latest, greatest concept doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be something that everybody ought to jump into.
Yeah. Bill's point was really good. He said, look, you all have a lot to lose. We have a lot to lose. My advice to you is to not pursue it.
You mentioned there were kind of three areas that you guys kind of focus on. What are those three areas again?
Well, the three key products that we offer physicians, one is medical professional liability, helps obviously protect your profession. The second is disability insurance, which obviously helps protect your income. And then the third one we typically offer physicians is term life insurance because it helps protect their family. So those are the three core products that we feel like every physician needs to have in their portfolio. We offer all of those. We have some proprietary products associated with those offers, and then we work with other groups like Millennium to kind of extend our reach and to allow us to offer other products in the event that one of our proprietary offerings does not fit that particular client.
And so having some of these proprietary products, how does that benefit your member base, having these proprietary products?
The products actually go all the way back to 1974. I believe that was the first year we offered a disability plan. And the product is designed to provide, not only quality, but, a very favorable price. The AMA's buying power helps put us in that position, and we then are able to pass along the savings on to our clients.
Sure.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize the benefit of an association like you guys is like you said, the buying power allows them to basically kind of be a part of a group and get a much better price. So kind of walk us through the evolution of like the products as you guys have moved through the AMA insurance over the years.
Good question. So the products we offer are typically offered on a group chassis. They have guaranteed renewable provisions in them. And with, again, the length of time that we've been offering them, I think there's a strong history and a strong backing behind it. And so we have continued to provide not only coverage, but affordable coverage. The other thing it allows us to do is to continue to enhance the plan over the years. If we don't like a particular arrangement, we can lift the plan and move it to another carrier, again, with the idea of making it a bit more competitive.
And your plans are specific to the physician marketplace, so they're purpose-built.
They are purpose-built, and we design them exclusively for physicians, and we market them to physicians, as you might imagine. But there are a few of the offerings, term life insurance as an example, that we will allow a physician to offer or have other members of their family purchase as well. So there are a few exceptions, but things like medical professional liability and disability exclusively for physicians.
In your experience over the years, what would you say is the number one underinsured piece for physicians?
Physicians will get into their career, they'll complete their training, and they'll, especially in today's world, they'll go into an employment setting. And a lot of them feel like their employer is going to provide them with, not only health insurance, but term life insurance, disability insurance, and other types of benefits. And that's not always the case. And so we see a lot of physicians who probably don't elect to purchase those types of plans while they're young and while they're healthy. And so they lose that opportunity. And so that's how I would kind of frame it, that maybe not as much that they're underinsured or that they miss the opportunity, but they miss the opportunity to purchase as much coverage and at a great rate while they're young and
healthy. They really missed the opportunity, just waited too long. And that makes sense. Group benefits have kind of been dialed back. It's not, the packages aren't as robust as they have been in years past. But
read the headlines, health insurance, 80% increase in premiums, double premium from the prior year, exceeding inflation. You hear that over and over again. And I think what's happening is employers are forced now to make a decision. Do I want to pay more to keep providing the same benefits to my employees, or am I going to pay the same amount and then what am I going to cut? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when they cut things, that impacts not only the younger physicians that are there, but really impacts those that are further along in their career who might not be as young and as healthy, and it puts them in a difficult position to obtain insurance on their own.
From my perspective, being in the insurance business on a daily basis, having a trusted, person on the insurance side that can really explain to people what some of their options are, and not all the time, but sometimes getting individual coverage may be a better option for people than solely relying just on a group offering that's offered through their employer. So talk to us a little bit about your team and some of the things that they go through to make sure that, the physicians they're working with have access to some of those individual products in the marketplace.
For a little background, the AMA Insurance Agency had traditionally offered all of the products that they market to physicians through the mail. Eventually that evolved to email, but it was all up to the physician to kind of sift through all the material on their own and make a decision on whether that was the right coverage for them. About 5 or 6 years ago, we introduced a team of insurance specialists. These are internal agents licensed to offer these products and to provide consultation to our clients. They're non-commissioned, so they're paid to help, whether they sell one of our products or someone else's. And so that's really helped a lot of our physicians. In fact, we have quite a few physicians now. I think it's up to maybe 30, 35% of all physicians that purchase purchased through these internal agents that we refer to as our specialists.
That's a pretty impressive number.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little over a third. Yeah. And so I think that's, if in working with your team for a number of years, they also do a very good job. If for whatever reason your product is not the right fit, then that's where they make an introduction to Matt or I or one of our other team members to say, hey, look, there may be a brokered product out in the marketplace that would be a better fit.
It's one of the reasons that we feel so good about the relationship with Millennium. It's put us in a position to extend our reach and our offers into the physician marketplace. So I'll give you a quick example. We have a proprietary term life insurance product. And in many cases, that fits the physician and or their spouse or significant other. But there are instances where that product doesn't work for what the physician's trying to do. Through our relationship with Millennium, we then have access to maybe 30 or 40 other term life insurance plans. So it's put us in a position where we no longer really just sell a product. We help physicians shop for the coverage they need to find what they want and at the price they want. So that's one example in which the relationship has really helped us better serve our clients. The other angle is there are products that we just don't offer, but physicians still inquire and ask.
Sure.
You mentioned whole life insurance, whether it be universal life, index life, annuity products, planning services, things like that. We're not really positioned to offer that directly. So when we get those requests, before we had to tell physicians, sorry, we can't help you. Now we will hand those or create really a relationship or an introduction to your team, because we know you all are, professionals at that sort of, or for that sort of planning. And it's been great. We get all kinds of positive feedback from physicians being able to, refer them to people like you all. And it's been very, very helpful. And it's put us in a much better position. So we're not just saying, no, sorry. We're actually in a position to help.
We can find the right fit for your scenario. And I think that's one of the most important things about insurance is, it can be sold just like anything else. The combination of work between your team and Millennium we've been able to bring a very comprehensive, we will go out and find the correct fit for you. We don't want to just sell you a term life insurance policy or sell you a disability policy. I think we've taken a lot of pride in that over the years.
The ability to help people find the right product, clearly important. But to find that with the right person who is going to be a trusted source, that's really important to us, and that's been part of this relationship. And so we feel very confident if we're going to refer someone to you that you all will either handle it directly or you'll find someone in your network that has the expertise to do that. And that's meaningful to us, and it's been meaningful to our clients.
I mean, you all have a pretty strict vetting process that you put everybody through that's going to be involved in working with any of the physicians that you work with. So you want to talk maybe just a little bit about that vetting process?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jason. It's a big deal to the AMA.
Sure.
And I mentioned earlier that we had traditionally offered products just directly through the mail. So there were no agents or experts to help our physicians. The AMA was a little concerned about introducing a third party into that discussion. And so we implemented a very, very thorough vetting process. And so we do not work with just anyone. We work with just those that complete and clear this vetting process. So we know that if we are going to make the referral and it's going to go to you and someone in your network, we have the confidence that that is a vetted professional
Sure.
that we're connecting to our
Right.
clients.
And I think that even carries over, it's the individuals, but it's also the companies that are represented too. So that makes us keep our pencil sharp because we got to stay true to our partnership. And, there's a lot of insurance companies in the marketplace. Not all of them are, A-rated type of, offering the type of products that we want to represent. So we take it very serious that we're representing, within the standards that you guys kind of set, but we uphold too, both from an individual standpoint and the carriers that we represent.
Not only our proprietary products funded through and insured through a A-rated carrier, the products we offer through third-party relationships also have to meet that criteria. And you all have been great at making sure that any of the carriers and the products brought to the table for us fit that criteria.
Yeah, I think it's, we've been going on maybe close to 7 years now, but we've been kind of doing these educational events with you all. Do you want to take a minute just to kind of talk about where that kind of started and what we maybe have done over the last, 5 to 6, 7 years, and kind of maybe your thoughts on maybe how we, move that thing forward into the future?
It's sort of the theme of making sure we connect physicians to, someone they can trust and a voice that they can trust. And so an extension of that was when we started doing these webinars with Millennium 5 or 6 years ago. And the intent is to provide educational content that's meaningful to our physicians. And, we've had a lot of participation. We've had different topics ranging from Social Security benefits to unique ways to leverage whole life insurance as part of a retirement platform. We've talked about long-term care, disability insurance. So we've covered a lot of meaningful and important topics, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from our clients as a result. So we like that. We like that approach, and we like the idea of moving from selling to educating. We think that's an important part of the process.
I think it's a good to go. Education then moves naturally kind of into the sales. If you just go sales, that's kind of where the insurance industry gets that little bit of a dirty feel. I don't want to put anybody down, but I think our view as a whole together, Jason and I have his view, AMA has this view, is education first, and then let's make an informed decision. And I think those webinars have been a good way of doing that. And even transitioning to something like this. We're talking about our relationship here, but in a future episode, I think we're planning on getting into talking about, where life and disability fit into it for physicians. So we're kind of trying to evolve. And do you guys have anything else, anything new coming, or where you think you see this education going in the future?
There could be some interesting opportunities in the future. The AMA does a lot of work, for example, in medical schools and residency programs where they have an entire curriculum around educational content, but that's more geared towards the practice of medicine. There are some financial elements that get woven into that. We have tried that in the past and actually have done kind of a joint effort with Millennium to work in concert with AMA on those kinds of things, where we actually had a physician in financial services who came with me, and we went to different residency programs around the country. So that was an example of trying something new. I would envision us doing maybe more of the podcasts and trying to continue to find ways to create meaningful content for physicians. The other thing we have found is that it's challenging sometimes for a physician, as busy as they are, to take 30 minutes and to participate in a webinar or even listen to a podcast. So we're starting to find ways where we can break that apart and give them some smaller nuggets of information. And so maybe a short little infomercial or something along those lines. So we're going to continue to explore ways to deliver the content, to deliver the education, but in meaningful ways for our clients based on how they consume it and how much time they have to consume it. The goal ultimately, in my mind, is if you can figure out how to give them the educational content they want in small little increments, but when they want it. So, for example, if they were to call in and inquire, instead of sending them a brochure to sell them something, the goal would be to send them some educational content to get back to what you said, Matt, helping them make informed decisions. I think that ultimately is the goal. If we can figure out ways to help physicians make informed decisions about what they decide to do with insurance products and financial services products, that's a huge step forward for us.
And I know personally, I try to make myself available in the evenings. Some physicians may prefer early mornings. We've even done phone calls and stuff on Saturdays in the mornings. But working with physicians and stuff, what are some of the planning topics that you see routinely from physicians that?
I would categorize it into two different buckets. The first one is around protection. These physicians spend so much time and money to get to the point where they actually are earning an income. So the journey is long, expensive, and very, very challenging. And so you've put that kind of investment, personal investment into your career. Protecting it is important. So the medical professional liability, the disability, the term life, the things we talked about, critically important. So we get a lot of physicians inquiring about that, as you might imagine. The other topic, bucket, if you will, that we tend to get a lot of inquiries on is help me with planning. Help me with my future state. You mentioned long-term care, Jason. Long-term care comes into that. How do I set aside funds? How do I plan for retirement? How do I pull all of that together in a meaningful way? So, I've worked hard and I have the opportunity to, retire someday and be financially set and protected.
Mike, I liked your 2-bucket analogy there, and you started with protection. In your mind and what you see, what falls into that protection bucket? I'm assuming the start of that is early in a physician's career.
I tend to think so. And so to me, medical professional liability obviously becomes important. Disability coverage, you've invested all of that time and energy into the career. You need to protect your income. That's important. Term life insurance, those are probably the 3 core protection items, especially for a younger physician.
There's a big gap in this country on people that own the significant or the right type of life insurance and also disability, but kind of maybe more specific to the life insurance standpoint. Why do you think there's such a gap in coverage when it comes to the life insurance piece of that?
I go back to what we've been talking about with education. Physicians feel good about making decisions when they're informed. And I think in many cases, they're so occupied in their career that moving away from that into other areas like the world of financial services, where they may not be as well educated, is challenging. The focus isn't there. The interest in purchasing something you're not familiar with is a barrier. So I think a lot of times no decision is made because they don't feel like they're informed enough to make a decision.
If you're going to purchase multiple insurance products or put together a plan with one person, you need to make sure they're around or that you can go to them at any point and ask questions about it. And I think there's not enough time for them to really vet the people they want to work with. And so I think at the end of the day, they just don't end up purchasing because they're like, well, what he said sounded good, but I didn't have the time to do my homework, and it just kind of gets pushed on down the line. I mean, that's one of the values that AMA Insure brings to the table, is that you guys have put extensive work into that to take out the vetting from their side. And hopefully they can just come in and trust the person, get some advice, put together a plan, and move forward.
Yeah, and not to use a cliche from the medical world, but a second opinion becomes important as well. We get a lot of that. So we have people that we obviously have vetted and we feel very confident with, but we get a lot of inquiries where a physician has been approached by a financial professional on a particular product. And they're not sure what to make of it. So they contact us and ask us what we think. And again, we're non-commissioned and our job is to help. And so if it's a good product and at a good price, then we're going to say that. If there are better options, we're going to pursue those for the physician. But that idea of getting another opinion from someone else to help them become more informed with what it is they're purchasing is important.
Well, we've done some from webinars. We've done some policy reviews on people. I mean, I've done a few on the disability front, and coverage you got's great. You've purchased it. Whoever you purchased from did their job. This is great. Keep it forever. You don't need me.
And that's, again, one of the reasons why we enjoy the relationship with you all, because we know you'll operate that way. Unfortunately, there's another side of the financial services industry where people are motivated for maybe some different reasons, things like compensation on their end. And that becomes a little different for us and for our clients. And so our focus is on, back to that theme of making an informed decision. We try to remove any sort of financial incentive from the people we work with that are providing guidance to our physician clients, and that's important to us. And so, making informed decisions, getting advice that's non-biased and not influenced by ulterior means or motives is pretty important.
What was the rationale behind making your sales team non-commission?
Well, I think it goes back to this idea of helping. And so we wanted to make sure, yes, we have licensed agents. Yes, they're obviously professional, and yes, they're very capable of providing guidance and support. But we wanted to make sure, whether they were offering our product or another product, or even looking and evaluating a third-party product that we weren't involved with, we wanted to make sure that our internal agents, our insurance specialists, weren't influenced by compensation. And so our message to them is your job is to help physicians. And if you help physicians, you're helping the AMA fulfill its mission. And so we were very specific and very purposeful when we went that path, because it was very important to us. We want to make sure that nothing gets in the way of providing good, solid, non-biased advice and support that ultimately helps physicians make informed decisions.